Salut, c'est Aurélie. Today we are gonna talk about conversation tables, also known, I think, as conversation exchange, but I'm gonna use the locution conversation tables because it's more similar to the French version of it. So what is it first? Well, it's a place. Usually it's a bar, like a traditional bar or a bar that belongs to a hotel where you go and you just practice any language that you want. Of course, other people have to speak that language because, I mean, you can talk to yourself if you want to, but you don't have to go to a bar. You can do just like me and be in your bedroom to do that. So, yes, it's a very, very kind and open-minded place to practice a language. And I discovered conversation tables this summer. Of course, I had heard of it before, but I had never been to an event. And this summer, I think it was August, so 2021, I decided to go there and see how it was like. And so this episode is just gonna be about, well, me, of course. Me talking about how it was like for me to go to conversation tables, my experience, and what you can kind of expect when you go there. Because I highly recommend you to try it at least once, and if you don't like it, you don't have to go do it again, but I think it's a wonderful experience to try. So, conversation tables, it's in a bar. I mean, at least the ones I've been to, it was always in a bar. And there's a little fee that you have to pay before entering the conversation tables zone. It's usually 1, 2 euros, maybe 3, but the two different places I've been to, it was 1 euro or 2 euros, depending on the place. And so you have to pay that. Then they will give you a little tag, a little label where they will write the languages that you speak or your native language. And then they'll write a dash. And on the right side of it, they're gonna write the languages that you want to practice. And so like that, when you go to a table, you can easily see if people speak, well, which languages other people speak, basically. So, so yes, you might be wondering, but why would I pay 1 or 2 euros or dollars or whatever the currency to go to a place to just practice a language? I mean, why should I pay for it? I understand that question. Well, first of all, I think it's because for the organizers of the event, it's quite a lot of stress and it's a lot of work for the evening to and the event to be able to happen. So it kind of rewards them to do that. And I don't know. I think 1 or 2 euros. It's not cheap for everybody, but it's very accessible for most of the people. And I think that if you would have gone out to a bar but just to drink and not practice any language, it would have cost a lot more money. So in the end, it's kind of a little investment on yourself and on your language skills. So yes, it's a bit of money, but I think it's 100% worth it. So, once you arrive, you pay 1, 2 euros. They give you a little tag that you put on your hoodie, sweater, t-shirt, whatever. And then they're gonna explain to you that, okay, like on the right side you have Spanish tables, left it's English, in the middle it's Dutch, over there there's Chinese, you have Russian, and blah blah blah. Because why do I say Chinese and Russian, for example? Because when they will write in your when they will write the languages that you speak in your label, they also write it down on their sheets of paper. And like that, if you want to practice Chinese because you've been studying it at university or secondary school, maybe at that time of the evening you're the only one willing to practice that language, but maybe that an hour after, a native Chinese speaker is gonna appear and be like, okay, is there anyone speaking that language? And they're gonna be able to say, yes, there's someone. And maybe if both of you are okay with that, maybe you can start a table and speak in Chinese if you want to. So yes, it's like that's the person that's studying or learning that language, well, can practice it. And for the native speaker, it's a way to also practice that language, because of course in Belgium and in Brussels you're gonna find some people that are able to speak Chinese, for example. I'm gonna stick to Chinese language for this example, but it's not a lot of people, because the official languages in Belgium are French, Dutch, and German. And other people, well, we also learn English, and some people can also speak Spanish. So I'd say that's the 5 more common languages in Brussels. So for a Chinese person working in Belgium, the possibility for them to be able to speak Chinese at their work is pretty low. So I guess they'll be speaking French or Dutch or English for the work. And so they don't have a lot of opportunities to practice and to speak in Chinese. So going to a conversation table, even though it's to practice your mother tongue, I think it's very great, because if you're in a country for whom it's not the native language, you're going to be able to practice it, and you're also going to be able to help the other person, because if everybody's okay with that, you can correct each other and say, oh, I think you made a mistake, or just saying like, I would say it in another way, and like that everybody is improving their Chinese or Russian, French, Dutch, German, blah 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 skills. So yeah, that's a win-win for everybody. So yes, don't be afraid to go to a conversation table, even if you just want to practice your native language, because there are always other people that are learning that language and that would be very happy to speak it with a native speaker. So I know that some of my friends that I brought to the conversation tables, at some point after maybe 2 hours of only speaking and listening stuff in English, they were a bit tired and they needed something less tiring and be able to rest a little bit. They would just go to the French table. Like that, they can help other people with their French, and they have, yes, time to rest, because when you're speaking in your native language, you it's not that you don't care about the vocabulary and the grammar, but it comes way more easily in your native language than me in English or me in Spanish, for example. French is always gonna be easier, I think. So yes, don't be afraid to go to a conversation and just go to your native language table, because it's always gonna help someone. I have to admit, I've never been to a French table because I never felt that need, but I guess that someday I will go and I'll see a little bit how it is like the French table, because I've only been to the English and Spanish ones. Um, but then, yes. And yes, you're gonna meet people at the table. Usually it's like a table for 6 persons, maybe 8, but when it's a bit too much people, the organizers are gonna come and say, "Hi, folks. Like, would you agree if we split up? If we split? Well, if we separate you in 2 different um, tables, like that, new people can come and yes." I don't know how I wanted to end that sentence. Anyway, and I know that for some people also it's a bit difficult to go to a conversation table because they were like, yes, but I don't know what we can talk about. Um, my skills and my skills in that language are good, but not that great. So I'm afraid people are gonna laugh at me. Blah blah blah. Well, first of all, if people laugh at you when you speak, well, I think you shouldn't go back to that particular conversation table because it's not the spirit of the event, because everybody is there to practice and to improve and to lift up, can you say that, other people, and not just, and laughing at them is the complete opposite of that. So maybe just try another place where there's a conversation table. And yes, because usually people are very kind and open-minded, and if they are there, it's for the same reasons as you, because they want to practice a language, and they are very curious to meet new people. So yes, normally nobody is there to judge you, and everybody is very kind and open-minded, as I've said 30 seconds ago. So yes, when you arrive in a table, people are gonna ask you like, what's your name, how old are you, maybe what's your job, or what are you studying, and then the conversation can start like that. And then I'm sure that other people are gonna find similarities with your life. Maybe if you say that you did a gap year, just like I did, well, other people can be like, oh, I didn't do a gap year, but I went for an Erasmus in Scotland, maybe, or in Spain, or Sweden, whatever. And you have a lot of similarities with those people in the end, because, as I've said, they are also passionate about languages, just like you, if you're in a conversation table. And they usually also like traveling, maybe just like you. So you don't really, I mean, I can understand that you're afraid that nobody's gonna speak and it's gonna be a bit awkward and stuff. But people are just like you, kind of. They want to meet new people, and they are curious, and yes, well, I'm feeling like I'm repeating myself a lot. So, but I just, yeah, want to tell you how amazing it was for me, and it is for me, to go to conversation tables, because, well, you will always find similarities between you and another person, and you're gonna be able to meet people that you would have never met anywhere else. Like, I've met an engineer. I think he's like 40, 50, I don't really know. And as I'm studying languages and translation, I can't say that I'm interested in engineering and stuff, but meeting that guy, because we both wanted to practice Spanish and that's what we did, well, it just felt like normal to speak to him, and I would have never spoke to him in my entire life without the conversation tables. But as we had the same goal to practice that language, it yeah, it just clicked. I don't know. And I would have never met that guy in another place because yes, I'm not really interested in engineering and stuff, and I guess he's not really interested into translation. But as we were both in a conversation table, we just talked about his job and the fact that it allowed him to travel a lot and blah blah blah. And that's something I love about conversation table is you never know who you're gonna meet. I remember maybe like 2 months ago, I met a guy from Sydney, Australia. And I was like, whoa. I think it's the first time I really meet an Australian person. Of course, I've seen YouTube videos, but really an Australian guy, wow, that was the first time. And I would have never met him anywhere else. So, yes, you're gonna meet awesome people. And and that's another thing that's gonna make you wanna go back, because at least for me, each time I go to that same conversation table, i I see the same faces. Of course, new people are coming, and other, it was just like to try and they'll never come again. But there are some faces and some people that you're gonna see each week, and and it's really nice to have that kind of friendship. Kind of course, you're not really friends with them because you just see them in that event, but it creates a kind of yeah, camaraderie, can you say that, relationship, I don't know, but you're kind of yeah, friend with them. And that's what's gonna make you want to go back to that same place, because I know that if I see that engineer guy again, I will talk to him, and I'll hope he's gonna remember me, and we'll be able to talk about other subjects and stuff. So yes. And what else did I want to say? So yes, as I've kind of mentioned it, most people that go to conversation tables, they have a professional life already. Like, of course, there are a few students, just like me, but most people already have a job, a family sometimes. They are married, and yes, they basically have a professional life. So, yes, there are not a lot of, there are blah blah blah. There are not a lot of students. But that's something I really love, because I've always liked being with people older than me, because they have a lot of experience to talk about, and everybody likes to talk about themselves. I mean, that's what I'm doing in this podcast, so everybody likes to share their experience and stuff. So yes. What else did I want to say? Yes, I think that you will mostly find conversation tables in big cities, just like Brussels or Ghent, Antwerp, Namur, Liège, whatever. But well, of course, you can search for it on Facebook and Google. But there's also an app that is called Meetup. So Meetup, Meetup, and it's an app where people are gonna share an event. Well, my settings are for languages, so I don't really know what else you can do, but there were a lot of events shared on that app, and I know that the conversation table I go to, the organizers, they shared it on Meetup, and a lot of people came because of it. They discovered it that way. So yes, that's a great way to find stuff and events around you. And if there isn't anything in a bar in your city, maybe you can join an online conversation table. I know that also exists. So, yes. And what else did I want to say? I think that's it, but I'm not sure. Let me think. Well, I think that's it. But yeah, another option, alternative, if you don't want to, well, if there's nothing in your city and or you don't want to pay 1-2 euros, maybe you can try, well, the online events, but maybe you can also try to do that with your friends if they are interested in languages, of course. That'd be a nice way to practice. You can be like every Wednesday during lunchtime, we don't speak French or your native language, and we just speak Dutch or Spanish or English, Chinese, Russian. It's not the same as a conversation table because you already know the people, but maybe knowing already the persons, it's gonna help you to be more comfortable talking, or maybe not, because going to a conversation table, usually nobody knows you, so you can have like a fresh start. Of course, you're not gonna lie about your life, but nobody knows you, so you can really start new relationships with people. And yes, in and if you just decide to talk about Italian politics during those conversation tables, well, that's a choice, and that's a good one. Well, I mean, maybe after a few months it's a bit boring, but anyway, yes, don't even remember why I said that. But yeah, you can try maybe with some friends. And yes, so I highly recommend you to at least try it once in your life, because that's a very, very, very nice place, and you're gonna meet awesome people that are also passionate and curious about life and open-minded. And you're gonna be able to practice a language, which is pretty dope. So maybe you can write a comment here, what Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, to tell us if you've already done it, or if listening to that podcast made you want to begin. I don't know, because it's quite a long podcast, but you know how much I like talking, so I guess it's not such a surprise. But yes, maybe you can write a comment and tell us about your experience. 23 minutes, that's like 5 minutes more than the French episode. I think I'm gonna shut up. Have a good week. Bye.